How emotionally strong people make toxic people lose power. The silent source of real strength. Many people think strength is loud. They think strong people argue. They think strong people fight back. They think strong people prove they are right. But real strength is different. Real strength is quiet. Real strength is calm. Real strength does not rush. Real strength does not explain too much. Emotionally strong people do not try to control others, they control themselves, and that is why toxic people lose power around them. Toxic people look for reactions. They look for fear. They look for anger. They look for emotional pain. They want to see your face change. They want to hear your voice shake. They want to know they can affect you. When they get a reaction, they feel strong. When they get silence, they feel weak. This is the first truth you must understand. Toxic people do not want peace. They want control. Emotionally strong people do not give them that control. They do not react fast. They do not react emotionally. They pause. They breathe. They choose. This pause is powerful. This pause is dangerous to toxic people, because in that pause, control disappears. When you react immediately, you are predictable. When you pause, you are not. Toxic people fear what they cannot predict. They fear what they cannot read. They fear what they cannot control. Emotionally strong people understand this deeply. They understand that silence is not weakness. Silence is strategy. Silence is self-respect. They do not answer every message. They do not respond to every comment. They do not join every argument. They know something important. Not every fight is worth your energy. Energy is life. Energy is focus. Energy is direction. Toxic people drain energy. That is how they survive. Emotionally strong people protect their energy. They protect their peace. They protect their mind. They protect their inner world. This protection is not loud. It is not aggressive. It is calm and firm. And calm firmness is very powerful. When a toxic person insults you and you stay calm, something strange happens. They feel confused. They expected anger. They expected defense. They expected explanation. But you give them nothing. This nothing is everything. Your calm tells them something. It tells them you are not easy to control. It tells them you are not emotionally weak. It tells them their words have no power. And when words lose power, the person using them loses power too. Emotionally strong people do not explain themselves to people who do not listen. They do not justify their boundaries. They do not beg for understanding. They understand that people who want to misunderstand you will always do so. So they stop trying to convince. They stop trying to prove. They stop trying to be liked. They choose peace instead. Peace is not passive. Peace is strong. Peace says, I know who I am. I do not need your approval. I do not need your permission. This mindset changes everything. Toxic people often test boundaries. They push slowly. They say small, disrespectful things. They cross small lines. They watch your reaction. If you laugh nervously, they push more. If you explain yourself, they push more. If you get emotional, they push more. But emotionally strong people respond differently. They do not react emotionally. They respond clearly. They say no calmly. They step back quietly. They remove access without drama. This calm response breaks the pattern. Toxic people are used to chaos. They are used to noise. They are used to emotional storms. Calm behavior feels strange to them. It feels unsafe. It feels uncontrollable. That is why they lose power. Emotionally strong people are comfortable with silence. They do not rush to fill it. They do not fear it. Silence gives them clarity. Silence gives them control. In silence, they think clearly. In silence, they see patterns. In silence, they understand intentions. Toxic people talk too much. They explain too much. They defend too much. They do this because they are insecure. Emotionally strong people speak less, but when they speak, their words matter. Their voice is calm. Their tone is steady. Their message is clear. They do not shout. They do not threaten. They do not manipulate. They simply state what is acceptable and what is not. This clarity is powerful. A person with clear boundaries is dangerous to toxic people because boundaries remove access, and without access, there is no control. Emotionally strong people do not fear being alone. This is one of their greatest strengths. They enjoy their own company. They trust themselves. They feel complete on their own. Toxic people fear loneliness. That is why they try to keep others attached. That is why they use guilt and pressure. But when you are comfortable alone, guilt stops working. Pressure stops working. Manipulation stops working. You cannot threaten someone who is not afraid to walk away. Emotionally strong people understand this. They know that staying in a harmful space is more dangerous than being alone. So, they choose themselves. They leave quietly. They leave with dignity. They leave without drama. This quiet exit sends a strong message. It says, I value my peace more than your chaos. I value my future more than this moment. I choose growth. Toxic people feel powerless when someone walks away calmly. They expected a fight. They expected tears. They expected a long emotional conversation. But they get distance instead. Distance is powerful. Distance removes influence. Distance removes access. Distance removes control. Emotionally strong people also do not seek validation. They do not need constant praise. They do not depend on approval. They trust their own judgment. They trust their values. They listen to feedback, but they do not build their identity on it. This inner confidence is silent but strong. Toxic people use praise and criticism as tools. They give approval to control. They remove approval to punish. But when you do not need approval, this tool breaks. Praise no longer controls you. Criticism no longer destroys you. You stay steady. Steady people are difficult to manipulate. Emotionally strong people know their worth. They do not shout it. They do not prove it. They live it. Their actions are calm. Their decisions are firm. Their life reflects self-respect. This self-respect changes how people treat them. People feel it, even without words. Toxic people feel it too, and it makes them uncomfortable, because they cannot dominate someone who respects themselves. They cannot control someone who is emotionally grounded. They cannot shake someone who is calm inside. This is why emotionally strong people do not fight toxic people. They outgrow them. They rise above emotional games. They rise above manipulation. They rise above drama. And in that rise, toxic people lose power naturally, not because of confrontation, but because of inner strength. This is the foundation. This is the beginning. Part 2, silence, observation, consistency. Emotionally strong people do not rush to speak. They do not rush to react. They do not rush to explain. They watch first. They listen first. They feel the situation before they move. This habit alone changes everything. Most people speak to be seen. Most people speak to be heard. Most people speak to protect their ego. Emotionally strong people speak to understand. They speak with purpose. They speak only when their words matter. Silence is their first language. Silence creates space. Space creates clarity. Clarity creates power. Toxic people hate silence. Silence makes them nervous. Silence removes attention. Silence removes control. Toxic people talk a lot. They explain a lot. They repeat themselves. They do this because they want reactions. They want emotional energy. They want confirmation that they still matter. When you stay silent, you give them nothing. Your silence becomes a mirror. They begin to see themselves. This is uncomfortable for them. Emotionally strong people understand something important. People reveal themselves when they talk too much. So they listen. They listen to tone. They listen to timing. They listen to small changes in behavior. They notice patterns. They notice when words do not match actions. They notice when kindness hides control. They notice when praise hides manipulation. They do not accuse. They do not expose. They simply remember. Observation is quiet power. While others are busy reacting, emotionally strong people are learning. They learn who can be trusted. They learn who needs distance. They learn who respects boundaries. Toxic people believe no one notices. They believe chaos hides their intentions. But calm observers see everything. Emotionally strong people do not need to win arguments. They want to understand reality, and understanding reality gives them control. They respond later. They respond calmly. They respond wisely. Sometimes they do not respond at all. Not every message needs a reply. Not every question needs an answer. Not every opinion needs your attention. This choice protects energy. Energy once saved becomes strength. Toxic people feel weak when they cannot pull you into conversation. They feel small when they cannot trigger emotions. They may try harder at first. They may push. They may test. They may provoke. This is when consistency becomes important. Emotionally strong people are consistent. They do not change rules based on mood. They do not bend boundaries for comfort. They do not explain again and again. Their behavior is predictable, calm, firm. This consistency sends a clear message. It says, "This is who I am. This is how I live. This is what I allow." Toxic people test limits. They test small things first. They arrive late. They ignore requests. They make small, disrespectful jokes. They wait to see what happens. If you react emotionally, they push again. If you forgive quickly, they push again. If you explain too much, they push again. But when you respond the same way every time, something changes. They stop testing because there is nothing to gain. Consistency removes hope of control. Emotionally strong people understand this deeply. They do not raise their voice. They do not threaten. They do not argue. They repeat their boundary calmly, or they remove themselves. This is powerful. Boundaries are not walls. They're doors. And emotionally strong people decide who can enter. They do not announce boundaries loudly. They live them quietly. They say no once, then they act. Actions speak louder than words. Toxic people listen to actions. They do not respect explanations. They respect consequences. When access is removed, behavior changes. Emotionally strong people do not feel guilty for protecting themselves. They know guilt is a tool. They know shame is a weapon. Toxic people use guilt to pull you back. They say, "You changed. You were cold. You were selfish." Emotionally strong people do not argue with this. They understand something important. Growth looks like distance to those who benefit from your weakness. So they stay calm. They let others misunderstand. They let others talk. They do not chase their image. They trust time. Time reveals truth. Emotionally strong people are patient. They do not rush outcomes. They do not rush healing. They do not rush revenge. They let life respond. Life always responds. Toxic people lose power when they see you are not desperate. Desperation is visible. Calm is visible too. When you are calm, people feel it.
Your presence changes. You enter a room differently. You listen more. You speak less. People begin to notice. Your words carry weight. Your silence carries meaning. You do not overshare your plans. You do not share your fears with everyone. Privacy becomes protection. Emotionally strong people are private, not secretive, wise. They understand that information is power. Toxic people collect information. They use it later. So emotionally strong people choose carefully what they share. They share feelings with safe people. They share goals with trusted people. They do not expose their inner world to everyone. This makes them hard to read. Toxic people fear this. They cannot plan against what they do not know. Emotionally strong people also know when to leave. They do not wait for explosions. They do not wait for betrayal. They trust patterns. Patterns never lie. One mistake can be forgiven. Repeated behavior is a message.
Emotionally strong people listen to that message. They do not argue with reality. They accept it. Acceptance is strength. They step back slowly. They reduce access. They change availability. No announcement, no drama, just distance. Distance weakens manipulation. Distance breaks emotional habits. Toxic people feel this loss immediately. They may try to return. They may apologize. They may promise change. Emotionally strong people observe actions, not words. Words are easy. Consistency is hard. They wait. They watch. If behavior does not change, they stay distant. This patience protects them. Emotionally strong people do not rush back into old patterns. They do not believe potential. They believe behavior. This belief keeps them safe. Safety creates peace. Peace creates clarity. Clarity creates growth. This is how emotionally strong people live. Not in constant defense, not in constant reaction, but in awareness, in calm observation, in consistent self-respect. This quiet lifestyle removes toxic power slowly, not through fights, not through exposure, through absence. When you are no longer available, control disappears. Part 3. Quiet growth changes everything. The strongest move is not confrontation, it is growth. Emotionally strong people do not focus on toxic people, they focus on themselves. They understand something simple. What you focus on grows. So they stop feeding drama. They stop replaying old conversations. They stop trying to fix people who do not want to change. They turn inward. They ask better questions. How can I become calmer? How can I become wiser? How can I become stronger inside? This shift is quiet, but it is powerful. Toxic people want your attention. They want your energy. They want your focus. When you remove attention, their influence fades. Emotionally strong people grow silently. They do not announce plans. They do not seek applause. They do not chase recognition. They read. They reflect. They practice. Every day they improve a little. Small improvements create big change. They strengthen their mind. They strengthen their discipline. They strengthen their emotional control. This strength does not show immediately, but it builds, like roots under the ground, quiet, invisible, unbreakable. Toxic people cannot attack what they cannot see. They cannot sabotage what is not announced. This is why quiet growth is dangerous to them. Emotionally strong people become harder to reach. Not physically, emotionally. Old words no longer hurt. Old tricks no longer work. What once triggered pain now feels distant. Distance creates safety. Safety creates confidence. Confidence changes posture. You stand differently. You walk differently. You speak differently. People feel this change. You do not need to say anything. Your presence explains everything.
Emotionally strong people do not rush success. They respect time. They know real growth is slow. Real change is quiet. Real power is stable. They build habits, not images. They build character, not reputation. Reputation depends on others. Character depends on you. Toxic people care deeply about image. They need validation. They need attention. Emotionally strong people need none of this. They validate themselves. They trust their path. This independence removes pressure. Pressure is how toxic people control others. When there is no pressure, there is no leverage. Emotionally strong people are comfortable being misunderstood. They know something important. Those who benefit from your old self will resist your growth. They may say, "You changed. You are not the same. You became distant." Emotionally strong people accept this. Yes, they changed. They grew. Growth always creates distance. Distance between who you were and who you are becoming. This distance is healthy. Emotionally strong people do not apologize for growth. They do not explain it. They live it. They also choose better environments. They reduce time with draining people. They increase time with supportive ones. They protect their schedule. They protect their energy. Energy invested wisely multiplies. Energy wasted disappears. Toxic people drain. Healthy people build. Emotionally strong people choose builders. They also learn to enjoy solitude. Solitude becomes a teacher. In quiet moments, they hear themselves clearly. They understand their values. They understand their limits. They understand their purpose. Purpose gives direction. Direction gives confidence. Confidence removes fear. Fear is the main tool of toxic control. When fear disappears, power disappears. Emotionally strong people are not fearless. They are disciplined. They feel emotions. They do not obey them. They feel anger. They do not act from it. They feel sadness. They do not drown in it. They feel fear. They do not let it decide. This discipline creates stability. Stable people are hard to manipulate.
Toxic people depend on chaos. They need emotional storms. When storms stop, they lose direction. Emotionally strong people also forgive, but they do not forget. Forgiveness releases emotional weight. Memory protects wisdom. They forgive without reopening doors. They heal without returning to harm. This balance is powerful. Healing does not mean access. Peace does not mean tolerance. Emotionally strong people know this. They also focus on skills. They learn communication. They learn self-control. They learn patience. Skills give options. Options create freedom. Freedom removes dependency. Dependency is the root of toxic control. Emotionally strong people become free. Free from approval, free from fear, free from emotional games. This freedom is visible, not in words, in calm, not in arguments, in boundaries, not in reactions, in presence. Toxic people feel irrelevant around this energy. They cannot dominate, they cannot influence, they cannot disturb. So they fade, sometimes slowly, sometimes suddenly. Emotionally strong people do not chase closure. They understand closure comes from within. They do not need apologies to move on. They move on because they choose peace. This choice is final. Not dramatic, not loud, final. Over time, life improves. Relationships become healthier. Decisions become clearer. Energy becomes stable. This is the reward of quiet strength. Not attention, not praise, peace. And peace is power. This is how emotionally strong people win. They do not fight. They do not compete. They do not prove. They become. And in becoming, toxic people lose power completely because you are no longer available. Not emotionally, not mentally, not energetically. Your life moves forward, calm, focused, free. This is the end of control. This is the beginning of real strength. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Self-Study Every Day for more helpful lessons. Leave a comment and tell me what you want to learn next.